Welcome back to Kidsplaining. I'm Daniel. This is Allison.
We're the Kidsplaining parents, and today we're asking the question, can kids play Funfair? Funfair is a relatively new game that comes from Good Games Publishing. It's basically what it is, Funfair. You are designing your own, building your own amusement park, basically. Now, it may seem silly if you feel like you've heard this name before. Unfair is a totally different game that's from the same publishing company, and that game is really take that. It is definitely unfair. So they have redesigned the game, totally different game, but called it Funfair, and it is definitely more family friendly.
Yes, it's a little simpler. Later in the video, we're going to go into some of the direct comparison between those two games. So if you like Unfair, you can decide if you're going to like this one. Yeah. But the gist of how the game plays, you have this common board. You're trying to build your amusement park. You're trying to build the best rides, get the most people into your park. So in this board, you have a marketplace down here where you can draw cards from. You have the park deck, which is what feeds that marketplace. You have some common goals that everyone is trying to achieve. You have your city deck, which at the beginning of each round gives it does something that's going to help and benefit all of the players.
It's also what keeps track of the rounds.
Yes, there's 6 city cards. You flip one over at the beginning of each round, and then when it's gone, that's the last round. And the game plays over 6 rounds, and within each round, there's 3 rounds of turns and actions. And then when a player builds their showcase, they get a 4th action, and those go individually. So as soon as I build my showcase, I get to take a 4th action. If no one else in the game has built theirs, they don't get to take one yet. And then you have your attractions up here. Everyone has a main gate. There's different performers that you can have in your park. There's different attractions. You can have up to 5 attractions, which would be like roller coasters or theater or food vendors. And then you can upgrade your attractions.
And then you have your guest phase. So you move this here to guest phase. You count the stars. You get money according to the guests in your in your parks. And then you've got cleanup at the end of each round. You clean up the marketplace, refill it from the park deck, and then you start your new round. The first player marker goes to the next person, and you go around again. You read the next city card, and you're good to go.
But we had a really great time playing this. We played it with the 2 of us and with Jared and Peyton, and had a really good experience. And just up front, we asked Peyton, because we knew we were going to be doing this video, when we finished the first game, we asked Peyton how he felt about it, because there is a lot of reading, there is a lot of language dependence, which we'll talk about.
He's still struggling a little bit in that.
But he enjoyed it. He said he wanted to play again. It was not the struggles that he had with the reading parts did not keep him from wanting to play the game. He enjoyed it, and he actually did really good.
Yeah, he really likes the strategy part of it.
So again, the point of these videos is not to tell you if your kids can play it, because we don't know your family, we don't know your kids. The point of this is just to go through all of the things that typically come into play when you're trying to decide if a game will be a good fit for your family. And if you're using these to decide for your adult game group, that's great, because some adult game groups don't like confrontation. So the first thing we always talk about in these videos is the theme and the artwork of the game.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the art, especially. It's very, very detailed. You feel like you're getting pictures and like you're there. There's a few little Easter eggs throughout the cards that are kind of fun to find. As far as like just general
concerns,
there's not really many.
There's nothing really concerning.
Everyone's dressed appropriately. The little players, like here's a fairy performer, she's dressed appropriately. There's pirates that there's no scary stuff. I think the only scary things that we found through the card that aren't even really scary. There's a ride called Tombs of Peril, the Wicked Queen's Tower, and then there was a freak show, which there's nothing scary on it. The name of it was a little interesting, freak show. And then there's a haunted castle.
Yeah, the first time I saw the freak show was when Jared was like, "I'm building a freak show." And it was like, "A what?"
What now? Okay. But I mean.
But even on those, and even on the haunted stuff, and there's nothing scary in it. Again, all of the artwork. Again,
very tasteful.
There's no inappropriately dressed performers. There's nothing in the artwork or the theme that, at least for us, and I wouldn't think for most people, would be questionable or off-putting playing with any age kids. Again, the limiting factor for ages in this game is going to be the language and complexity, not anything in the theme, anything like that.
I did notice that they were very inclusive in their artwork, where it feels like anyone could play the game because everyone feels like they have a place in the game. So I did want to note that as well.
Yes.
So the next thing we want to talk about is language dependence, because that is kind of important, especially in this game, because it is very language dependent.
Yes.
You need to be able to read and comprehend what you're reading. So like Peyton, who's 8, who's still struggling in reading right now, this game was a little tough for him because he needed help. Like when he drew a new blueprint card, I had to help him read it and kind of comprehend what exactly he was doing. Again, it didn't take away from his enjoyment of the game, but as a parent, I did need to go alongside and help and partner with him. So there was that, but I don't mind doing that when we play games. It didn't bother me at all. But if you're a parent that you'd like to just play the game, then that might not be something you want to do if you have a young player or child that is struggling in reading.
Yeah, and I think I missed the blueprints earlier. The blueprints are achievements that you're trying to accomplish before the end of the game. You get points for achieving this at the end of the game. They are hidden information, so that is one thing that we typically hit on is public versus hidden information. This game does have hidden information. The blueprints you draw, no one else ever sees them. You're the only one that knows about them. Some park cards you draw or are dealt directly, so no one sees what you have in your hand. Obviously, the stuff that's in the marketplace is public information until it goes into your hand.
And honestly, I don't remember what people picked up, so it is
right. So this one really does require reading and comprehension. It's not just reading character names. You are reading instructions. You are reading abilities, things that certain cards will let other cards do or will change the choices that you can make in the game.
Yeah.
So like Allison said, it's a question of how much help you want to give. And if it's going to be frustrating for your kids, it may not be worth it. Again, we specifically asked Peyton, how was the game? How did you enjoy it? The parts that you struggled with, were you okay with that? Did that make you want to not play again? And he said no. He wanted to play again. We played again later in the day after our first game. He really enjoyed it, even with the reading and comprehension that was required. But it did require Allison to sit next to him at the table to help him with some of those things. He was not able to play fully independently yet. Now he'll get there, but
yeah, he will.
At this point, he is not able at 8 years old to play fully independently, but the only reason for that is the reading comprehension and kind of taking what all the things mean and meshing them together and figuring out how they interact with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
And the blueprints also, just because he was noting on the blueprints, it's easy, medium, and hard. And so you've got your points that you get completing those will also be smaller to larger. So there's those as well. Yeah.
As far as memory goes, there is nothing that is, you see it and you have to retain it and you don't get to see it again. Everything that you would need to remember is available to you throughout the game.
But there is a lot going on, so you don't have to remember things that are no longer available, but there's a lot to keep in mind while you're playing the game. You've got your blueprints, you've got these common goals here, you've got what's going on the city deck, things like that, and then just what's going on in your park. So it's not memory as far as needing to recall things that have passed, but it's just being aware of what's going on.
Yeah, there's a lot to manage. The blueprints for me are the hardest. They're the place where I found myself needing to, even though I could reference them,
constantly looking at them.
I didn't want to look at them every single time I took a card. So there is a little bit of, it helps to be able to remember what your goals are from your blueprints, but you do have them available to reference at any point in the game.
And you can, if you don't care having it up on the table, you can just lay it on the table. It just depends on your preferred thing. Right. So the next thing we're going to talk about is math, and it's basic math. You're adding your stars when you're going through the guest part of the round. You add those up, you get the money that involved. You also are buying things in the market, or not really buying. You're not buying from the market. You're buying them in order to put them in your park. So there's adding and subtracting in that. And then at the end of the game, there's a little bit of multiplication, right? Am I remembering that correctly? You did the scoring. I didn't do the scoring.
And some staff members will let you score extra points depending on things you have in your park. Yeah. So there is some minor, multiplication, maybe score 2 points for each of this certain type of thing. So there is, but it's all basic, but there is a lot of it. It comes into play during the game.
It does happen the entire game.
Yes.
But it's just basic adding.
Right. and like money and stuff. You have to buy. There's money management. You have to buy things with coins that you earn coins. You spend coins. So there is that. Again, you still have the ability to count it out. You have physical coins that you're working with, so you don't have to keep a tally of how much money you have or how many resources you have. But you do have to manage the money and keep up with, if I spend this, I'm only going to have $3 left, and is that going to be enough to get the next thing I need to get? So there is basic math throughout the game. There's no algebra. There's no complex math, anything like that.
Who wants that in a board game?
Some people do.
Okay.
Jared probably does.
Oh yeah, Jared would. Yeah,
but
would love that,
there is a lot of basic math in the game, and it's throughout the game. You're constantly having to just deal with numbers.
And speaking of like money management, that really steps us into strategy, because the first few rounds are really difficult trying to manage your money, because you only start with a certain amount and you have to spend that. It's the teaching your kids to spend, you have to spend money to make money type of situation here. So it's like you get, I think you start with 25.
I think you start with 20, and 20? At the end of each round over here at the guest stage, so after you've done all that, you earn money based on how many stars you have and the total of your stars. So in those first couple rounds, you may spend $15 or $20 in your first.
You get like $2.
So you may spend all your money.
What can I do with $2? I can't do anything. So there's the building that strategy and understanding the stages of the game makes it easier. Like our second playthrough, I was like, okay, I understand how I need to prepare myself for the next round. So the first game was a little bit like, well, what can I do with 2? Because I think it was basically this setup. I had my gate, and then I had a ride, and then one upgrade that really didn't add anything to it. It was no stars. And so I started with 2 points. And
there are things like the city deck will sometimes give you either free cards or it'll give you coins.
5 coins to start because there was a bank error.
Yeah. So there are a few other ways to get coins. There's, as one of your actions, you can collect loose change, where you're picking up the stuff that has fallen out of people's pockets on the rides.
Which is such a cool concept to think about, because you know it happens.
So you get 1 coin for each attraction that you have built, not upgrades. So in this setup, you would get 2 coins. So it's not a lot, but if you're just down, if you're a coin or 2 short, it does help.
The problem is, though, like, I needed to do that a few times, and I hated that I had to take my whole action doing that.
Yes.
So that's a little bummer, but it is something to just kind of put some coins in your pocket if you need.
Yeah. So I think, and it mentions this in the back of the book in the strategy section, that something to keep in mind is you really only have 20 actions, give or take, depending on when you build your showcase. Yeah. In an average game, you're going to have around 20 actions to take, which isn't that many. So it really, understanding the strategy, kind of getting blueprint cards, things like that, and focusing on those and being able to manage all that it can be fairly complex, especially for younger players. It can be a little overwhelming. But again, our younger players were fine with that. They were fine with maybe not being able to fully grasp those more complex blueprints. And again, even Peyton's okay not winning. He's okay just enjoying the game, even if he's not the winner. So
Jared's getting better at that too.
Yeah. So those things weren't a deterrent to him. And Peyton came in third the first game we played, but it was a very close third.
I think he was third both.
Yeah.
Was he third both?
Yeah. It was none of the games that we've played were like he was just along for the ride.
No,
like he was competitive. He was making decisions. He was kind of normal Peyton, where he has his brain. Yeah, he built a strategy. He worked the strategy, and he did fairly well. Again, for a younger player playing a game with this much going on, he did really well the first couple games he played.
If your kid doesn't really like processing through their strategy like that, if they like everything being like, okay, that's black and white, these are the steps I need to do, this may not be the game for you, because there is a lot involved in your strategy and trying to build that up to make it a successful, especially if you're playing with people that are more competitive and very strategy driven. People who aren't strategy driven playing with people who are, this game would kind of just be like, it just wouldn't be as fun.
Right.
We didn't talk about downtime, though. With the strategy and stuff like that, you are planning it. So downtime, you've got each player doing their round, because I mean you've got this one and stuff like that, so everyone's doing their thing. But if you've got people collecting change and they're just grabbing a few bit, their round is very simple and it goes pretty fast. As long as you know what you're doing. Each
of these park steps you can do one, and you can either build a card, you can take a card and put it in your hand. Make sure you can take loose change. You can draw blueprint cards, or you can demolish a ride.
Yeah, that's
but you're only doing one thing, so it's not like in any given turn you're completing this complex like string of events. It is pretty small actions, and even with the blueprints, you take 2 and you decide which one you're going to keep, and you put 1 back. I can take those 2, and then Allison can go, well, I'm trying to figure out, because what I'm doing doesn't directly affect her.
The only time maybe it did take longer in the downtime was when you were analyzing your blueprints and you're looking at the market going, okay, this is what's available. This is what's in my park. This is what I need. Okay, that card is going to get cleaned up next, in just a couple of rounds. I need to go ahead and get that in my hand so that I can build this maybe next round. Like just processing that would be what makes the downtime a little longer.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's not that bad.
And as we talk about pretty much with all games that we're playing with younger players, taking those opportunities as soon as they finish their turn to say, okay, you think about what you're going to do in your next turn while everyone else is going. That way you don't have to think about it when it comes back around to you. Just helps move the game faster, helps create courteous gamers with good gaming etiquette. So it does, and you can do that because for the most part, a couple of these cards might change if people take them and they get replaced. But for the most part, nothing drastic typically happens between turns that's going to completely change your options. And as far as confrontation between players, the only real direct confrontation is taking cards that other people need.
Yes.
So that is,
Yes. I had my blueprint. This was the last round. I think we had 2 turns left in the last round. I knew exactly what I needed. I had my eye on it. And Jared swiped it up and I couldn't complete my blueprint. And I was so frustrated. But he told me, he was like, Mom, I needed that too. I was like, okay, fine.
So
that's the only real confrontation is people taking what you need to finish.
Yeah, you can't close down other people's rides. You can't directly impact their parks. Again, a lot of those elements, if you've played Unfair,
isn't unfair,
those elements are not in this game. You cannot directly impact another player in a negative or positive way. There's one card in here that lets you
give to other people.
You can build things for half price and you pick someone to give stuff to.
That was really sweet too, because Peyton was low on money, and so we all just kind of like Peyton. Yeah. And then I think Jared gave me some money. It was just really cool to kind of favor people in that way, in a very kind way.
But it's not so that's fair in a kind way. There is can be a little bit of feeling of favoritism there. There's the opportunity for that.
We just don't play that way. So.
Yeah, but there are a couple little things like that, but the main area of confrontation between players is with the market cards and taking things that other people need. And then scoring and winning, you have no idea who's going to win until the end of the game.
Really don't.
The only public scoring information is being able to see kind of the score on this. And the way that the rides score, you score for the icons on each individual ride. And there is the
stars are points, and that's money at the end of the game.
And there's this chart in the back of the book that has, so if you have 1 icon, you get 5 points. If you have 2, you get 8. All the way, if you have 17 icons on one single ride, you get 146 points.
Jared really tried to do.
Yes.
I think he did 12.
Yeah. So even that, what you're gonna know is I have some rides with a lot of icons, or I have some with few, but as far as the total number of points, you're not going to be able to keep up with it during the game. And then there's the blueprints, and you don't know who has which blueprints. You get penalties for not completing blueprints.
So there is someone in the deck who will, if you have them and you build them, if you recruit them, they make it so that you don't have that penalty for not completing your blueprint, which is nice. He really likes that one.
Yes. There's this award card that changes every round. So in this one, whoever has the most feature icons
I think there's
would
like
get an
6
extra 15
different
points.
ones of those, something like that.
But they cycle through each game. It's going to be, you shuffle it and you draw one at random. So there is a lot of different elements to score. You really genuinely have no idea who the winner is going to be until the end of the game. So the scoring is fairly complex. They do have an app that helps you do it, which in the back of the book,
nice.
there is a QR code. If you score this QR code, it will take you to a web-based app that will, it just goes through, you put in the names of the players. It says, okay, how many icons did this player have on ride 1, on ride 2, on ride 3? How many coins did you have? Because you get 1 point for every 2 coins you have. So you put in how many coins each player had, their blueprints, and it tallies it all up for you.
If you don't have that, that's fine. They do include a pencil and a pad that you can just put it in. It's double-sided. Jared made sure I knew that.
And it's not terribly complicated. There are just a lot of different ways to score. But from the aspect of knowing who's going to win when you get to the end of the game, you can kind of tell who's kind of running away with their attractions. But again, you don't know what blueprints people have, things like that. So as a family game, I think we really enjoyed this game.
We did.
It feels like
you had mentioned that it was. I said that it felt a little bit like Machikoro because you're building something. Like in Machikoro, you're kind of building your city and you're managing your money and you're not drafting cards, but you're getting cards from the market and that type of thing. So it kind of had that feel. And then Daniel mentioned that it was like Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, this feels like the next step from Ticket to Ride for me. It's a more complex, more going on, but felt very like I'm drawing cards to try and build things.
And then the blueprints, like the tickets.
Now, something that I did like about this game, it's not in here, but something that you cannot buy blueprints in the last 2 rounds. The game is played over 6 rounds. There's a card in there that reminds you that after the 4th round, the blueprint deck is closed. My strategy with Ticket to Ride, and I love my strategy with Ticket to Ride.
It's horrible.
It's a fantastic strategy. When I see the game is coming close to an end, I just start drawing path cards. Ticket cards, and finding the ones that I already have completed or that I'm only a couple away from being completed.
So frustrating because he'll be there with 7 ticket cards and I have my 2.
I usually have more than 7.
Yes, you do actually.
The blueprint cards, you don't have to keep the ones you draw 2 and you keep 1 or none of them.
Yeah, it's
so
nice.
It does eliminate that ability to at the end of the game just to use all your turns to draw those and just keep the ones that you've already scored for.
Thank
so I
goodness.
even though I love that strategy in Ticket to Ride, I appreciate that and hear that it really, because some games you can, and Ticket to Ride is different because there's not a limited number of turns, but you have those games where the last couple of rounds you're just gathering up resources. You're gathering up you're just gathering things. You're just you're not really still strategizing through the end of it. This game, all the way to the last turn,
very last turn, you are still planning out.
You're still making key decisions, and you don't know till the end if you're going to even be able to do everything. Like it really keeps you engaged until the very last turn. I think that's kind of my frustration with a lot of engine builders, where in that last round it's just do resources, and you can just
it almost feels
gather
like
loose change.
The beginning of this game is that preparing step. The first round, you're really just setting yourself up to succeed through the rest of the game, and then towards that last round, it is like, okay, this is it. It's all on the line.
Yeah.
I can do this. I just need 1 card. It's my it just has that adrenaline with the game that
now in one game Peyton he had everything done that he wanted to do, and he only had a couple cards in his hand, and there was nothing that would improve his standing. He just collected loose change all 4 actions of the last round.
Was it all 4?
And it really but that is very rare in our experience with this game, that you get into that where you're just kind of phoning it in the last round.
I think we had gotten more blueprint cards, so we had a little bit more to do, and he just wanted to keep that 1 blueprint card, which is fine. He just didn't really have as much to do because he'd already accomplished that.
And the way the scoring works, it's kind of, I don't think there's ever a given like I've obviously got this one in the bag, I'm going to win it. So it really keeps you trying to find different ways to score, trying to find different advantages until the very last card is played, or until the game is over. It really kept us engaged through that. So I really appreciated that.
I will say I don't think I would play this with many kids young. Like
Right.
I think the best age group, I'm trying to remember.
I think it's
what
14
they
and
said.
up.
Yeah, 14 up. And I think that's, our kids, we play a lot of games,
Yeah.
and so they're used to this type of strategy. And I think 14 and up, to really just have everyone really enjoy it and not feel like they need to rely on anyone.
I think 10. Because Jared's 11. I think he's been at a stage where he can handle this.
If this is your first time, maybe you're coming from Ticket to Ride, a 10-year-old.
Yeah, if you have a 10-year-old that can play Ticket to Ride proficiently, I don't think they're going to have any problem with this game. After a couple of games, every game takes
the first game everyone's learning.
Yeah, so, but I think again, a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old, 12-year-old that is proficient, that understands basic gaming mechanics, is not going to have any problem playing this, enjoying it, understanding what they're trying to do.
And Peyton still enjoyed it. He
Yes.
just turned 8. He still really enjoyed it. He wants to play it again. He made sure that, because we have prototypes that we have to send off sometimes. He's like, is this ours? Is this, because he wanted to make sure that we were keeping it. Yeah. Yes. So that's good. But I'm just saying, as far as like, if I just wanted to play a game to play it and not have to worry about helping him with something, this wouldn't be one I'd
Younger than 10, you're going to have to help him out with
Which,
some
again,
of it.
it's fine with me because that's what I'm used to, and we have that kind of dynamic. But if that's just not something you want to do, don't pick up this game.
And as far as Unfair goes,
yeah, we have it over here.
So this was the first game. Unfair came out before Funfair. They're very similar in artwork. They're very similar in feel. If you have played Unfair, Unfair has direct competition between players. There are cards that you can play that will shut down people's rides. The city deck in Unfair has
some mean cards.
Yes, it has some negative cards that either make things more expensive. We haven't gotten through all of them, but they are negative cards. They hurt all of the players universally. And then again, there's action cards that players can play against other players.
And that's not in this
that is
game.
not
That's
in
not
Funfair.
in Funfair.
So if you have played Unfair and feel like I'd like to play that with my kids, but it just feels a little too complex, Funfair is definitely a step down.
Great one.
Another thing in Unfair, you have a bunch of different decks and you kind of customize the deck at the beginning of the game. This has a standard deck. It's the same with 2 players, 4 players. It is the same deck every game. So again, a lot of those little complexities that you have in Unfair that I really enjoy, those are taken out to make Funfair a much more accessible game for younger players, much more family friendly, and no direct confrontation between players in Funfair. So Unfair, definitely not a game for kids because it can be mean. The game
unless they really like playing mean.
Right. But the game itself can be mean and other players can be mean. Not in Funfair. Funfair, everything is nice. It's just, you're just building an amusement park.
I love how well the name of the games play for each. Unfair and Funfair. It's very cool how it just worked so well for the way they designed it. And also they have little things at the bottom of the cards. I know I noticed it in Unfair that I really liked, just the thought process and the development of the game. It's very, very, I don't know, theme pleasing for lack of better word. I really, really enjoyed just the whole theme of the game.
Yeah,
really makes me want to go to the carnival.
Yes, and I think having both games.
I don't like carnivals.
I don't. I got kicked out off a ride once because a guy claimed he told me not to chew gum. He never told me that. I would have gladly spit out my gum. It was a thing.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. So got called out in front of all my friends. So, yeah. So
anyway,
that aside, so having played both games, I would say with a group of older proficient gamers that have played games that kind of understand mechanics, I would definitely pick Unfair because it is more complicated. It is more complicated.
it is. There's a lot
more going on. There's more to manage. You have guest limits. You have things like that. It is just a heavier game. If I'm going to play with my family members who don't play a lot of games or with younger players,
and we really don't like a lot of take that kind of games.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Funfair.
Yeah.
It is a much more accessible version of the game. It is a much more family friendly version.
Yep.
I think they knocked it out of the park with both. I really enjoy these kind of games, and had a great time playing both of them.
So if you're looking for a family game that's a little bit more complex than Ticket to Ride, then definitely check out Funfair. I think that would be the next step for you if that's something that you think your family is ready for. And if you can think of any other games or know of any other games that you'd like us to break down in one of our Can Kids Play, please leave a comment and let us know.
Yep.
Also, if you played Funfair, let us know, or Unfair, and what your thoughts are on that too.
Yep, and we will leave links to where you can find both of these games in the description. And while you're there, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below.
And then we have some more of our videos over here. Until next time, we'll see you later.
Bye.
Bye.